Hi, my name is Megan, or Meg Handley, and welcome to my first video on the Ithaca College YouTube channel. So just some basic groundwork. I have two majors. I have a major in television and a major in writing, not TV writing. I am not a script person. I am a junior, and on top of that, some things that I do on campus is I'm a President's Host tour guide, so I work in the Office of Admissions, getting students acquainted with the college. I have an internship at my local TV station, which is a PBS affiliate, and I'm also on the board for a theater lab, which is the only non-cut theater organization on Ithaca's campus. Unfortunately, as you can assume, all of this is either not happening or looks a little different this semester. I'm not giving tours because I'm home, and as you can imagine, they are non-existent. My internship got canceled for the rest of the semester because of rising COVID cases in my county, and for Theater Lab, I am only making graphics, which I'm still grateful to be a part of the club nonetheless. That being said, a lot has changed with the remote semester, but they weren't all bad things. So I'm Meg, and here are 4 ways I learned to make the most of a remote semester. So before I get into my first point, I think it's really important to say that everyone's days, especially being home and with all the stress of the pandemic and just general world affairs, it's really likely that you're super stressed out and super tired. That being said, these are just some points that help me, but take care of yourself. We're all gonna have days where you just need to go to bed, relax, watch some Netflix, just take some time to breathe because there is a lot going on. I actually just wrote a blog post about how there's been too much pressure on people to be overly productive during COVID. You can read that below if you're interested. But that being said, here are some ways I made the most of a remote semester, but remember, first and foremost, to take care of yourself. So the first thing I realized is that remote semester doesn't necessarily mean a disconnected semester. So as you can guess by the fact that I'm a tour guide, I'm pretty extroverted. My Myers-Briggs test told me I was 88% extroverted. So when Ithaca said, hey, you can come back, and then just kidding, you can't, I was pretty heartbroken. Ithaca realized this too, and there's been a lot of opportunities to make connections other than the typical face-to-face class. For example, my club, Theater Lab, has been offering a weekly virtual dance class, which has been a huge success because we've just enjoyed connecting with people even though we're home. And I was fortunate enough to have 3 people at home where I formed a COVID pod and even a study group, which has been really super nice. Which leads me into my next point, which is that homework this semester looks a little bit different, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Having 2 creativity majors like television and writing, I was worried about not having the proper outlets this semester. So I was struggling with what to do, and initially for my TV major, I just found myself watching a lot more content. I felt bad about how much I was watching. I was like, I should definitely be doing something else because I'd usually be working on a lot of ICTV shows or projects, but I ended up talking to a professor and the conversation went a little bit like this. Yeah, so I've been watching a lot of TV, a lot of TV. I guess it's because I miss working on TV, but Meg, you're a TVR major. So yeah, you should be watching as much television as you can. In fact, when you get to my class, we're going to be talking about what TV we've watched for the first half hour. Really? Yeah. It's like an artist going to a museum and looking at art. Watching other people's stuff makes you a better creator. So I realized the same went for my writing. The more I was reading or writing, the more I was practicing, even if it wasn't in the traditional sense, like a workshop. And the same goes for people with non-creative majors. I've got computer science majors who would go on tangents that I wouldn't understand, but just explaining them to us would help them figure it out. So basically what I realized is, though I'm usually a library rat, I'm always just sitting in the library, that's not the only way you can get things done. And on the fact of getting things done, this also leads me to my next point. Do not give up your hobbies. I'm a huge bookworm. I'm talking reading all the time. My bedroom has 2 6-foot-high bookshelves, but instead of finding my nose buried in a book, I'm always buried in some sort of schoolwork or trying to make some project better. But I realized during quarantine that it definitely shouldn't be like that. Being home, I reincorporated hobbies like reading that were super important to me back into my routine. And just taking that 30 minutes to an hour a day to focus on something that wasn't school related and was just making me happy made a huge difference. Did somebody ask for a book recommendation? So my first recommendation is always Recursion by Blake Crouch. This was the best book I read of the summer of 2019, and I still think about it at least once a week. It's also being adapted for Netflix, which is a huge plus. If you can deal with depressing, this is the best book I've ever read. It's called A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. There are trigger warnings for almost everything, so make sure you look into that before you buy it, but it is the best writing I have ever read. My last recommendation for you today is Daisy Jones and the Six, a book written about a band entirely through the form of an interview. It is phenomenal, and it's also being adapted for Amazon Prime. Back to the other Megan. So for our last point, this might make you roll your eyes, but staying active is super important. So when I'm at Ithaca, my body's used to walking about 10,000 steps a day. Not just because I'm a tour guide, because I don't give tours every day. I'm walking to the dining halls, to a friend's room, to classes, to clubs, to events. Even for a medium-sized campus, you'd be surprised at how many steps you're gonna get. So when I just stopped all of that cold turkey, you could say I'm out of shape. I'm not an athlete. I'm not gonna run. So I was like, I could somehow get walking back into my routine. So I downloaded Pokemon Go, of all things. I don't like to walk without a goal, so I found I could go out of the house and go track down the Bulbasaur that was down the street or something, because I love Bulbasaur. And then it got cold. So then I found yoga, or rediscovered yoga, as, like I said before, I neglect self-care really badly when I'm at school. So I put that back into my routine, half an hour, at least 3 to 5 times a week, and oh my gosh, it made such a huge difference. There's a channel called Yoga with Adriene, which has yoga routines of all different kinds of time lengths and for different moods. There's a yoga for studying, there's a yoga for stress. It is so, so helpful. Ithaca also offered a yoga class once or twice weekly, which I thought doing over Zoom would be kind of weird, but it was actually really nice. Moral of the story, you don't have to run, you don't have to do a crazy workout, just move your body. Zoom can make you so stiff, and Zoom fatigue is so real. Do not let it get to you. So while some of this is blatantly obvious, I've found a lot of my college friends are completely neglecting the basics of being a college student while we've been home, and there's no reason for you to do that. And even though you're gonna have to take those days where you get your rest, where you're tired, and you just get things done, it's important to do things that make you happy, even if you're not on whatever campus you're on. All of the little things we're missing about campus are possible at home. We just have to make it happen. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, the typical YouTube stuff. And I'm so excited to be making content for the Ithaca channel, and I will see you soon. Bye! I'll just like put it down like here. Matt, you're a TVR major.
No.